My mother was the Queen for a very long time. And although you kind of know that this might happen, you don't really think about it very much.
The gates weren't supposed to open like that, not for this. At exactly 9:15 a.m., the silence of Sandringham was shattered, not by ceremony, not by tradition, but by something far more dangerous, legal power. 3 black SUVs rolled in, carrying something far heavier than people. They carried a document, a red-taped, sealed order that insiders are now calling the moment the monarchy cracked from within. Princess Anne didn't just make a move, she declared war. This wasn't family tension. This wasn't quiet disagreement behind palace walls. This was a surgical strike. And the target? Queen Camilla. For years, whispers floated through royal corridors about control, who truly governs the private soul of Sandringham. But yesterday morning, those whispers exploded into something undeniable. Anne's legal team didn't request permission, they didn't negotiate, they executed a sealing of use order that instantly froze the West Wing. Every door, every archive, every inch, locked down. And here's where it gets chilling. That West Wing wasn't just another section of a royal estate. It was about to become the new headquarters for Camilla's expanding power, a global command center for her version of the monarchy. Plans were finalized, millions were allocated, contractors were ready, but they never got inside. Because Anne's lawyers were already there, waiting, with paperwork that hit harder than any royal decree. The moment that document was served, everything stopped. No renovations, no access, no control, just silence and shock. And at the center of this storm lies one room, room 102, the blue sitting room. To the outside world, it's just a room, but inside the family, it's sacred ground. This is where Queen Elizabeth II spent her final quiet moments at Sandringham, her last reflections, her final approvals, her private world. And now, according to insiders, that sacred space was about to be transformed into something else entirely. An office, a headquarters, a symbol of a new reign. For Anne, that wasn't modernization, that was erasure. That moment, whatever was said, whatever was exchanged, it changed everything. Because Anne didn't respond emotionally. She responded strategically. She activated something most people don't even know exists, a buried legal weapon inside royal law, a clause hidden within the crown's private estate structures, a mechanism that allows a single executive, if they believe history is under threat, to freeze an entire section of royal property. And Anne isn't just a princess in this context. She is the executor of legacy, a role personally tied to Queen Elizabeth II herself. That means when Anne signs, it's not a suggestion, it's authority. And suddenly, King Charles III, the king himself, can't simply override it without triggering something even bigger, a legal earthquake that could shake the very structure protecting royal wealth. Think about that. The king trapped, the queen consort locked out, and the princess royal holding the keys. But this didn't start yesterday. No, this has been building quietly, carefully, for months. Go back to September 8th, 2024. Balmoral, a quiet anniversary of loss. 2 years since the passing of the queen, a moment meant for reflection. Instead, it became the first crack. Camilla reportedly introduced a plan, clean, efficient, modern, to restructure Sandringham's staff, replace the old guard, bring in new control, new loyalty. Anne said nothing, not a word. But silence in this family is never empty. Within 48 hours, Anne had already begun a full audit of the estate's trust structures. Quietly, methodically, without announcement. She wasn't reacting, she was preparing. Then came December 15th, 2025, Clarence House. And this time, the silence broke. A confrontation, sharp, direct, over something deceptively simple, letters. Private correspondence of Queen Elizabeth II. Camilla reportedly wanted them moved, streamlined, reorganized under her administration. Anne saw something else, control. After that moment, the trust was gone. Anne demanded a full inventory of everything at Sandringham, every object, every document, every artifact, because she no longer believed anything was safe under verbal agreements. Then, February 2nd, 2026, and everything turned explosive. At Windsor Archives, a discovery. 3 iconic royal jewels, including the legendary Vladimir tiara, had been quietly reclassified. Not removed, not stolen, relabeled, shifted into a long-term personal loan under the Queen's office. A technical change, but in royal terms, a rewrite of ownership, a rewrite of history. And for Anne, that was the line. Then came March 28th, the moment things went from quiet war to open conflict. Camilla issued a direct order, change the digital locks on the West Wing, gain unrestricted access. 4 hours later, Anne's legal team responded, not with words, with injunctions. The locks were never changed because the entire wing was legally quarantined, frozen in time, untouchable. Which brings us back to now, April 5th, 2026. The palace, silent. Staff under strict NDAs. Conversations shut down. Movement restricted. And somewhere inside this silence, King Charles III sits with an impossible choice. His wife, demanding authority. His sister, armed with law. And the clock ticking toward April 21st, the 100th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's birth. A date that was supposed to unite the monarchy. Instead, it might expose its deepest fracture. Because now, the question isn't just about rooms, or renovations, or control. It's about something far darker. What was inside room 102, and what might have already been taken out. And just when it seemed like this war was about walls, rooms, and power, the story took a darker turn. One that shifted everything from control to disappearance. That because behind the locked doors of Sandringham's West Wing, something wasn't just protected. Something was missing. And not just anything. A red leather dispatch box, handcrafted, discreet, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but to those who understand royal protocol, it was everything. This wasn't luggage. This wasn't decoration. This was the private vault of Queen Elizabeth II's most guarded thoughts. Her handwritten notes, her personal reflections, the raw, unfiltered voice of a monarch who ruled for 70 years. And now it was gone. Not misplaced, not delayed, location unknown. Those two words alone have sent a chill through every corridor of the palace. Because in a system where every item is cataloged, logged, tracked, and secured, nothing just disappears. Not unless someone made it disappear. And that is exactly what Princess Anne now believes. Within hours of confirming the absence, Anne didn't hesitate. She escalated, fast. Her legal team demanded a full extraction of security logs from the Royalty and Specialist Protection Unit. Not general footage, not broad timelines, specific hours. March 27th, late night, the northern corridor of Sandringham. Why that night? Because something moved. Something important, and someone was there to witness it. That moment, whatever was seen, whatever was whispered, has now become the center of a potentially explosive accusation. Because Anne isn't suggesting a mistake. She's suggesting intention, a calculated, systematic removal of history itself. According to sources close to the investigation, the suspicion is razor sharp that Queen Camilla's office may have begun quietly repositioning key artifacts, not to preserve them, but to redefine them, to curate what remains, to control what is seen, and more dangerously, what is never seen again. Because in the monarchy, control of the past is control of the future. If the private writings of Queen Elizabeth II never reach the official archives, then her true voice disappears with them. And whoever shapes that silence shapes history. But here's the part that changes everything. This isn't just emotional, it's legal. Under British trust law, the contents of Sandringham, especially personal archives of a sovereign, are not owned outright by any individual. They are held in trust, protected, restricted, governed by strict conditions, which means if even one item, just one, was moved without proper authorization, it becomes something far more serious than a royal disagreement. It becomes a breach of trust, a violation that carries consequences no title can shield, not even a queen. And suddenly, the stakes explode beyond family. Because if Anne can prove that movement, if those logs show unauthorized access, if that dispatch box was deliberately relocated, then this entire situation transforms. From internal power struggle to constitutional crisis. And the palace knows it. That's why, as of this morning, Buckingham Palace has entered what insiders are calling a total blackout. Conversations are restricted, staff silenced, information sealed tighter than ever before. Because what's at risk now isn't just control of Sandringham, it's the integrity of the monarchy itself. And right at the center of this storm sits King Charles III, alone, isolated, at Highgrove. Officially, it's rest, recovery, a quiet retreat. But behind those walls, it's something else entirely. A war room. Because Charles is now facing a choice no monarch should ever have to make. Not between policy, not between politics, but between blood and marriage. On one side, his sister Princess Anne, armed with documents, law, and what she believes is a sacred duty to protect their mother's legacy. On the other, his wife Queen Camilla, determined to shape the monarchy into something modern, efficient, and firmly under her influence. And both sides refusing to step back. This is no longer negotiable. It's a collision. And Charles, he's trapped in the middle. Because Because every option in front of him leads to damage. If he sides with Camilla, if he attempts to override Anne's injunction, he risks triggering a legal battle that could expose internal royal structures to the public for the first time in modern history. Imagine that. Courtrooms, documents, evidence, the monarchy dissected. But if he sides with Anne, he undermines his own queen consort, publicly, permanently, a signal to the world that Camilla's authority has limits. And in a monarchy built on perception, that kind of signal is devastating. That moment right there, it says everything without saying anything. Because behind closed doors, the financial toll is already spiraling. Nearly £500,000 gone, burned in just days on legal defenses, consultations, and emergency filings. Money pulled directly from the king's personal reserves. This isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. And with April 21st approaching, the centenary of Queen Elizabeth II, the pressure is reaching a breaking point. Because that date was meant to celebrate unity. Instead, it might expose division like never before. Inside the palace, 3 possible outcomes are now being whispered. The first, the most dangerous, open warfare. If Charles intervenes aggressively, Anne's team is reportedly prepared to release a second dossier, one that allegedly contains financial irregularities tied to the Queen's administrative expansion. If that goes public, it's not scandal, it's detonation. The second, a fragile compromise, a quiet deal, no headlines, no admissions. Camilla gets access but not control. The West Wing becomes a space she can use but never own. A symbolic victory but a strategic defeat. And then the third scenario, the one gaining traction. Anne wins, quietly, completely, because there's another force moving behind the scenes. Not loud, not public, but powerful. Prince William. Insiders suggest he's already chosen a side. And it's not neutrality, it's legacy. Because for William, this isn't about politics. It's about his grandmother, her memory, her reputation. And if he stands with Anne, then this isn't just a legal fight anymore. It's a generational alliance. Old guard and future king aligned. And that leaves Camilla exposed, vulnerable, outnumbered. If this plays out the way insiders predict, her next move won't be confrontation. It will be retreat, a quiet withdrawal, a step back, a pause disguised as strategy. But make no mistake, that would not be a pause. It would be a loss. And just when you think this couldn't get any deeper, one final detail emerges. A detail so quiet it almost slipped through unnoticed. But it might be the most explosive of all. Because alongside the missing dispatch box, there's something else unaccounted for. Something far smaller, but far more symbolic. Prince Philip's engagement ring, the 3-carat diamond gifted to Queen Elizabeth II at the very beginning of her 70-year reign, the ring that started everything. According to internal logs, it's no longer in the Sandringham vault. The last recorded movement? The same night, the same corridor, March 27th. And now, a private courier trail leads somewhere unexpected. A high-security vault. London. Off-record. Off-map. Which raises one final question. Not who lost it, not where it went, but who gave the order, and who is holding the only key. Because if Anne decides to push this further, if she opens that door, this won't just be a royal scandal anymore. This will be something history has never seen before.